It appears someone has moved the goalposts off to La La Land again. Here's a clip from Jose JG's YouTube channel featuring my favorite reality denier on the internet, SE Montreal.
Hey, wait a minute. They're trying to pull a fast one on me, hey? Well, he can't outsmart me because I'm a moron.
Oops, wrong clip of SE Montreal. Hopefully this is the right one.
The so-called missile expert who served in the Navy was 100% wrong about the Sea Sparrow ESSM Block 1 RIM-162D, which we were talking about. It is not a fire and forget missile, my friend. Delete your video. You are wrong.
Sea Sparrow ESSM Block 1 RIM-162D, you say? Challenge accepted. Let me start off by saying that I completely stand behind what was presented in my first video. I made the mistake of expecting reality deniers to actually be presenting current arguments using state-of-the-art technology. Silly me. The evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 variant first went into service in February of 2004 aboard the USS Chaffee. So a weapons platform that has been in active service for over 16 years is suddenly the most groundbreaking evidence that proves the Earth is flat.
What took you so long?
I now realize I should expect no less out of reality deniers. These are the same people who make ridiculous statements like, "You ballers believe 2,000 years ago a guy put 2 sticks in the ground and proved the Earth is a globe." They act like there is no way to replicate this experiment today. I've linked an excellent experiment showing how a group of college students from Millersville University replicated the Eratosthenes experiment during their winter break with tools anyone can purchase at their local home improvement store. It would take very little effort for a small group of reality deniers to repeat the same experiment. I'm betting they won't.
Interesting.
With that out of the way, let's tackle the claim that the evolved Sea Sparrow missile, or more specifically, the RIM-162D Block 1 variant, provides any evidence concerning the shape of the Earth. For the sake of brevity, I will refer to this particular missile as the ESSM for the remainder of this video. Apparently, this United States Navy fact sheet on the ESSM is the holy grail reality deniers are using to claim the Earth is flat. Let's take a closer look at this document to determine where the flat Earth cherries are picked. The first cherry lies here. ESSM is a medium-range semi-active homing missile that makes flight corrections via radar and mid-course data uplinks. According to the Fundamentals of Naval Weapons Systems publication, in semi-active homing the target is illuminated by a tracking radar at the launching site or other control point. Reality deniers conveniently ignore the other control point part. Let's play along. For the sake of this discussion, we are going to assume the launching site is the only method of guidance. If we don't, the reality denier claim is already debunked by the fact the ESSM can be guided by other radar sources. Stick around for more on this at the end of the video. Here is the second cherry. The primary function is both surface-to-air and surface-to-surface. The third cherry, or lack thereof, is that the range of the weapon is classified. Reality deniers love to play in the gray area. A Google search finds open source information claiming the maximum range of the ESSM is 50 kilometers, or approximately 31 miles. The problem is, there are no details on whether this maximum range is achieved when operating surface-to-air or surface-to-surface. Thus, we enter the gray area. At this point, the reality denier will assert the following. The ESSM can be used against surface targets, the missile has to be guided by the firing vessel, and the missile has a maximum range of 31 miles. This is impossible under the heliocentric model since the target would be hidden by the curvature of the Earth at 3.1 miles. Checkmate, the Earth is flat and the United States Navy is hiding it. This false narrative is pushed by a group of internet con men whose entire existence revolves around living off super chats, Patreon accounts, and blatant GoFundMe begging schemes for personal wants and needs. I have serious doubts any of these individuals believe the misinformation they put out. Unfortunately, the parrots believe the false narrative, and immediately initiate Project Pigeon Chess without doing any further research. Now, let's plug some holes in this narrative that have been conveniently left out. We'll first address the ESSM's maximum range versus its effective range. The AIM-7 Sparrow missile was originally designed as an air-to-air missile which was utilized by aircraft. The AIM-7 was modified to the RIM-7 Sea Sparrow to allow operations aboard naval vessels against surface targets, which resulted in a noticeable degradation of the weapon's capabilities. One of the biggest effects of these modifications was a severe reduction in maximum range. Here is an excerpt from a 2004 Naval Institute guide that discusses the limitations of the Sea Sparrow missile. At low altitudes it does not produce enough power to overcome drag and dramatically decreases range. Some estimates indicate that the Sea Sparrow may be effective only to 10 kilometers, about 1/4 of the range of the air-launched Sparrow. Under real-world conditions, a weapons platform will rarely ever achieve its maximum range. Maximum range can only be achieved during the best-case scenario for the weapon, and the best case for the ESSM is a surface-to-air engagement. Since it was estimated that the original Sea Sparrow would only have an approximate 25% effective range against surface targets, one can conclude that the ESSM would have a 7.75-mile range in surface engagements. I will concede that the ESSM has received multiple upgrades to overcome some of these deficiencies, but the ESSM is still primarily a surface-to-air missile. To believe these upgrades alone could double the weapon's estimated surface-to-surface performance would be highly dubious, but for the sake of this discussion, I'd be willing to concede to doubling the estimate to an effective surface-to-surface range of up to 15.5 miles. This brings us to the real elephant in the room. Why does the Navy go to the trouble of engineering these tall, elaborate masts? It's almost as if they're trying to see over something. I wonder what that might be. Let's take a closer look at 3 ships that deploy the ESSM on board. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the Ticonderoga-class cruiser, and the Oliver Hazard Perry-class frigate. The Burke and the Ticonderoga both utilize S-band radar units installed in the top corners of the bridge superstructure both fore and aft. Due to the size of this system, the Navy readily admits its placement is a compromise which creates an antenna height which is lower than the previous radar system, resulting in a reduced radar horizon. The radar unit on the Burke which provides guidance to the ESSM is located here. By utilizing a pixel count ruler, it was determined that the radar system is located 16.667 meters, or 54.682 feet above the waterline. The radar unit on the Ticonderoga which provides guidance to the ESSM is located here. By utilizing a pixel count ruler, it was determined that the radar system is located 18.485 meters, or 60.646 feet above the waterline. The Perry-class frigate recently received an upgrade which includes the installation of a Thales 3D multi-beam S-band radar unit which is optimized for medium to long-range surveillance and target designation. The Thales is a smaller and lighter unit which allows the upgraded Perry to mount the radar atop a redesigned mast that sits amidships. The radar unit which provides guidance to the ESSM is located here. By utilizing a pixel count ruler, it was determined that the radar system is located 31.970 meters, or 104.888 feet above the waterline. This is nearly double the height of the guidance system on the Burke, and in a minute you will see the effect this has on the Perry's radar range. The final variable we need to consider is the target. A go-fast boat at best can achieve 60 miles per hour on choppy waters, so even at 3.1 miles it would take over 3 minutes to reach its target. The most challenging threat an ESSM would face at sea would be a fast-moving, low-flying cruise missile, which at these altitudes can be considered a ground-to-ground engagement. The most advanced cruise missiles today utilize a terrain contour matching system which allows the missile to cruise at altitudes below 110 meters at subsonic speeds while obtaining a circular error probable of 15 meters. Circular error probable is a ballistic term where at least 50% accuracy is probable. Anywhere below this measurement would rapidly reduce accuracy and would likely result in weapon loss. Therefore, A cruise missile 50 feet above the water would be the most probable worst-case scenario. We now have the data required to input the numbers into Walter Bislin's Advanced Earth Curve Calculator to determine at what distance this worst-case scenario cruise missile at 50 feet above the water would be identified on radar. I'm going to set the refraction to 0 and require the target to be 10 feet higher than the radar horizon to account for potential clutter and to allow a gap between the missile and the Earth for the benefit of the reality denier's claim. Under these conditions, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer would first identify our worst-case scenario cruise missile at 16.8 miles. Under these conditions, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser would first identify our worst-case scenario cruise missile at 17.28 miles. Under these conditions, an Oliver Hazard Perry-class frigate would first identify our worst-case scenario cruise missile at an impressive 20.28 miles thanks to the new location of the Thales radar unit on the upgraded version of the Perry-class frigate. As you can see, even the 16.8-mile radar range of the Burke-class destroyer is 1.3 miles farther than the more than generously calculated 15.5-mile range of an ESSM operating in a surface-to-surface capacity. Interestingly, the repositioned radar on the Perry-class frigate has added 3.5 miles to its range when compared to the Burke-class destroyer. It should also be noted that the new Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carrier is armed with the ESSM and utilizes S-band radar to provide guidance to the ESSM platform. The radar units are located here. Since the deck alone on the Ford-class sits approximately 60 feet above the waterline, and the island is approximately 100 feet tall, it is more than likely that the radar units on the Ford-class are mounted much higher than the unit on the Perry, which would result in an even farther radar horizon. Unfortunately, much of the information concerning the Ford-class aircraft carrier remains classified. Let's illustrate the sheer stupidity of the reality denier's claim. Even an outrageously small 5-foot ship moving at an outlandish speed of 100 miles per hour would be detected by the radar on the Burke at 8.9758 miles. Some elementary school math determines it would take this ship another 5 minutes and 23 seconds to reach the destroyer. Let's see how much ordnance a United States Navy destroyer can put downrange in about 10 seconds. Do you think they really need more than 5 minutes? This brings us to the typical composition of a United States Navy carrier strike group. The pictures you are looking at are Navy recruiting tools to highlight the might of the modern United States Navy. However, these images are in no way an accurate depiction of an actual deployed strike group. An actual strike group is arranged more like this diagram. The perimeter picket ships like the destroyers or frigates are often deployed beyond visual range of the carrier. This creates a multi-layer defense system that creates an extended protection envelope to help overcome visibility and limited radar range created by living on a globe. These layers create a defensive envelope that encircles the carrier at long distances beyond visual range. In conclusion, based on real-world data and the known surface-to-surface operating constraints of the Sea Sparrow ESSM Block 1 RIM-162D, you can clearly see it is not possible to validate any of the claims made by reality deniers. Let me be clear, I am in no way claiming any of this information as evidence the Earth is a sphere, only that this same evidence cannot be used to make unsubstantiated claims that the Earth is flat. After all, we still have this. I almost forgot, we were going to revisit this semi-active homing missile issue. Here is an excerpt entitled Semi-Active Homing located at Chapter 16.4.2.2 of a publication entitled, Fundamentals of Naval Weapons Systems, which is housed in the Weapons and Systems Engineering Department of the United States Naval Academy. Here are the important parts. In semi-active homing, the target is illuminated by a tracking radar at the launching site or other control point. Also, an illumination device in a ship, aircraft, or ground station. I repeat, Other control points in a ship, aircraft, or ground station. What does this really mean? It means there is no requirement for the ESSM to be guided by the launching vessel. Other control points can be aircraft, land-based, or a coastie in a pedal boat. Now, let's take a look at this little beauty. This is the Northrop Grumman E-2D Advanced Hawkeye. On May 8, 2009, an E-2D used its Cooperative Engagement Capabilities system to engage an overland cruise missile with a standard missile SM-6 fired from another platform in an integrated fire control system test. The SM-6 is also known as the RIM-164 and is an extended-range surface-to-air and surface-to-surface missile launched from naval vessels, and it is fitted with a semi-active homing radar. The SM-6 is the big brother of the Sea Sparrow ESSM Block 1 RIM-162D. The E-2D operates at altitudes of 25,000 feet or higher, so even at its lowest operating altitude we see this. The E-2D radar at 25,000 feet will detect a 6-foot-tall castaway on a raft 193.52 miles away, which is more than 6 times further than the claimed 31-mile maximum range of the ESSM. This is irrefutable evidence that the ESSM does not require guidance from the launch platform and can be guided by an aircraft with a radar range that far exceeds the maximum range of the ESSM.
You can't handle the truth!
Sorry SE Montreal, the Sea Sparrow ESSM Block 1 RIM-162D does not even remotely point to the Earth being flat or larger than 3,959 miles. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the facts presented in this video.